If Thor doesn't end up dying in Avengers Doomsday, there's actually a really cool way for the MCU to wrap up Chris Hemsworth's journey as the God of Thunder. And thanks to some recently leaked footage from the set of Avengers Doomsday, it looks like we might be heading in that direction. There is a leaked clip that appears to show both Thor and Loki at the TVA, standing near the Loom, a place we saw multiple times in Loki Season 2. That alone is enough to spark theories, especially since Loki is now acting as the multiverse's guardian. So if Thor's trying to reach him, it could be a reunion that's been years in the making. So where exactly does this all leave us? Let's talk about the future of Thor, particularly the possibility of Thor 5, and how that might give Hemsworth the send-off he deserves. Thor's had quite a journey in the MCU. It took more than a couple of solo films to really shape his character, but over time, he's gone from a brash prince full of ego to a humbled warrior who's accepted his failures and grown because of them. That growth is part of what makes his character arc so satisfying. Now that Thor's redeemed himself, both in his own eyes and in the eyes of the people he let down, his story feels like it's naturally reaching a close. Even Hemsworth seems to feel it, considering the heartfelt tribute he recently posted to the character and his fans. That message got people wondering whether Thor's final act is coming in Avengers Doomsday or Secret Wars. A lot of fans are even thinking it could be a sacrifice similar to what we saw with Tony Stark in Endgame. But here's the thing. If Thor's going to leave the MCU, he deserves to go out on his own terms. While it would make sense for him to go out heroically in an Avengers crossover, it might actually be more fitting for his journey to end in a solo film, one where the focus is entirely on him, as the cosmic god he truly is, not just as a member of Earth's mightiest heroes. Thor's last solo movie, Love and Thunder, was a commercial hit compared to other multiverse saga entries, but in terms of character development, it didn't really do much. It also downplayed Gorr the God Butcher, who should have been a major threat. So while the movie was fun, it didn't do Thor's story any real favors. But that doesn't mean interest in Thor has gone away. There's still more than enough excitement to warrant Thor 5, especially if it builds toward a powerful finale. And if Marvel really wants to go big, they could introduce the Black Winter. This villain, who came to comics in 2020 thanks to Donny Cates, is easily one of the most intimidating foes Thor has ever faced. After becoming king and stepping back from the Avengers, Thor felt like he had no real purpose. Then Galactus crash-landed on Asgard, injured and desperate. That's when Thor had to step up and become Galactus's herald to face off against Galactus's own former master, the Black Winter, a force that devours entire universes. What made this storyline so intense wasn't just the scale of destruction, but the way the Black Winter messed with Thor's mind. It didn't just threaten the universe, it mimicked Thor's appearance and that of his greatest enemies, constantly pushing his deepest insecurities to the surface. It would be the perfect villain to challenge everything Thor has become. Adapting this storyline into Thor 5 would allow Marvel to bring Thor back to the powerful and serious hero we saw in Infinity War. That version of Thor, driven, grieving, and determined, gave us some of the best moments in the MCU, like when he forged Stormbreaker and arrived in Wakanda ready to take on Thanos. But after that, the character slowly shifted into more of a comedic role, and the momentum he had began to stall. So Thor 5 could be Marvel's chance to correct course, with a film that pushes Thor into one last defining battle, one that proves he still has something to fight for, not for glory or a throne, but because of who he is and what he stands for. In the comics, Thor's choice to help Galactus fight the Black Winter wasn't made lightly. He wasn't trying to be king anymore. He just needed to prove to himself that he was still worthy. And if that means making the ultimate sacrifice, then so be it. Bringing the Black Winter to the MCU could also give Galactus a role beyond just being a Fantastic Four villain. While Ralph Ineson's Galactus will debut in the Fantastic Four First Steps, that doesn't mean he has to stay in their corner of the universe. He could easily pop up in other Marvel stories, sometimes as a threat, sometimes as an unlikely ally. In fact, Thor's Black Winter storyline could even reframe Galactus as more of a supporting character. Seeing Galactus team up with Thor while struggling with his own moral issues would add layers to both of them. And the inclusion of characters like Silver Surfer or Beta Ray Bill would only deepen the emotional and visual scope of the film. If Marvel decides to keep Galactus around post-Thor 5, this movie could be the perfect launchpad. Of course, things would have to be adjusted from the comics. Asgard is gone, and Thor isn't king anymore. Now, let's circle back to Avengers Doomsday, because there's a strong possibility it'll be the film that reunites Thor and Loki. We haven't seen the brothers truly interact since Infinity War, when Loki tried one last time to trick Thanos and ended up getting killed. His final words, "The sun will shine on us again," hit hard, especially now that Loki is back in a completely different form. In Loki Season 2, we saw him become something far more powerful. He's no longer just a trickster, he's now a sort of living anchor holding the entire multiverse together. That makes the idea of him reuniting with Thor even more emotional and complicated, because this version of Loki never went through the same journey with his brother. Their bond, as we know it, doesn't exist in this version. Still, both Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston are confirmed for Avengers Doomsday, and Marvel even dropped a nostalgia-heavy video on YouTube showcasing some of Thor and Loki's most heartfelt and iconic moments. It's almost like a setup, a reminder of everything they've been through, which makes it hard not to expect some kind of emotional reunion. But if they do meet again, there's a good chance it'll be under tragic circumstances. Whether it's Thor, Loki, or both of them, someone might not make it out alive. Given Hemsworth's recent message reflecting on his time as Thor, it feels like a goodbye, or at least the beginning of one. And let's not forget what we saw in that leaked Doomsday footage. It looks like we're in the TVA, right at the Loom, the very place where Loki now resides. Thor's stunt double was seen filming a scene there, which pretty much confirms we're getting an action sequence involving Thor trying to reach Loki. The question is, why is Thor trying to warn him? Rescue him? Or maybe stop someone else from reaching him first? Some leaks suggest that Doctor Doom might be trying to take Loki's place at the center of the multiverse, which would make him incredibly powerful, possibly even becoming God Emperor Doom. Others hint that Loki knows Doom is coming and is trying to assemble a new version of the Avengers to stop him. Either way, one thing is clear: Loki might not be able to leave the Loom. As we saw, he replaced the Loom and now serves as the multiverse's foundation. If he leaves, everything could fall apart. So it's likely that Thor is the one trying to reach him, not the other way around. If Doom's plan involves picking off key figures that anchor the multiverse, then Loki's at the top of that list. And although Loki is now one of the most powerful characters in the MCU, capable of stopping time and manipulating timelines, he might not be safe for long. Doom will likely need to level up his own powers to even stand a chance. In the end, what all of this adds up to is a movie that could deliver one of the most emotional and powerful stories in the MCU's next phase. Avengers Doomsday might be the last time we see Thor and Loki together, and if it is, you can bet Marvel will make it count. Whether it's a reunion followed by a sacrifice, a final goodbye in Valhalla, or something entirely unexpected, this chapter is shaping up to be unforgettable. So whatever happens, whether it's Thor 5, Doomsday, or both, it's clear that Marvel's setting the stage for one final thunderous goodbye to the God of Thunder. And if Loki's promise holds true, maybe the sun really will shine on them again, even if it's in the next life. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.